Hi guys, Scott Woodward back with you to talk about the Storm versus the Rabbitohs, playing down at AAMI Park in Melbourne on Saturday. It's 2 versus 3 and should be a great game. Now look, the Storm are very short in this game, $1.68 with the bookies. I think it's a toss of the coin game. I think the Rabbitohs represent great value here, despite the fact they've got a terrible record against the Storm and certainly down in Melbourne. But let me say, most teams have. This is a semi-final now, and I think it's a different ball game. It's a different competition, and to be fair, the Storm haven't met the Rabbitohs when they've had a team like this. This is probably the best team that the Rabbitohs had in 20 plus years, and they're in great form, and I feel the Storm are on a decline. Based on the stats that we've seen from the Storm over the last 3 or 4 years, and based on what they've done over the last 10 rounds, they certainly are not the team that they were. I'm used to the Storm making under 10 errors in a game. They do that on a consistent basis. They're a very disciplined team. Last week against West they made 17 errors. The week before against the Cronulla Sharks they made 17 errors yet again. That's just not the Storm. They're running 16th for errors made last in the NRL competition, and normally they're first or second, and they have done year in year out. That suggests that they're not completing their sets. It suggests that they're not playing as good as what they were. They're not as organised as what they were, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but it's not a good time to be doing it. Your last 2 games, just about the end of the semi-finals. So if you want to back the Storm based on last couple of years, that's not the reason to do it. If we have a little look at some of the things they've done, and we're going to talk about some of the key players that they will have missing also, which is significant as far as I'm concerned. But the Rabbitohs have conceded less points than any other team in the NRL in the last 10 rounds, and the Storm are 11th. So the Roosters the Rabbitohs are number 1 for less points conceded, and the Storm are running 11th. That's just monumental. On top of that, when I look at the attack stats, the Rabbitohs are number 1 for metres gained, and they're number 3 for line breaks, and they're number 1 for tackle breaks. Well and truly above the Storm in all those stats. So they've got better defence and they've got better attack stats than the Storm in the last 10 rounds, and yet we're going to be able to get odds against this team that boasts 3 superstars, just like the Storm do. We can get $2.35 at the moment. I think that's very, very good odds, and I can only be on them at those odds. Especially when we look at the Storm's team, one of the guys that's been wonderful for them this year, Will Chambers, at right centre position. He's not playing, and neither is Todd Lowry, who's one of their tackling machines. So I don't think their defence is going to be as good as what it normally is, and Will Chambers, I think he'll be replaced by O'Neill. O'Neill, I think, has got some defence problems in the centres. For me, he's a winger, and I think that can be exploited by South Sydney on that side by Rampage and Greg Lewis coming through. Just quickly looking at the sides, we know the Storm pretty well. Billy Slater, I feel, is going well because he's a champion, but not as good as what he was. His stats are way down on what they have been in previous years. Sisawaka goes okay as a winger, nothing special. Justin O'Neill I talked about, he'll come into the centres. He's got some defence issues in my opinion. Dane Nielsen normally wouldn't be playing if not for injuries. He comes from the state of origin, but he's not that good in attack as far as I'm concerned, but he is a good defensive centre. Anthony Quinn, he's been around 100 years. He's only small, but he'll do a job for the coach, no world beater. Gareth Widdop, I've been a little bit disappointed with. I thought he would go on to the next level this year, and while he's had a good year, he hasn't gone on to become that really great player that I thought he may be. I thought he might have been the 4th big thing at the Storm, but he hasn't. I've been a little bit disappointed in Gareth, I have to be honest. Cooper Cronk has to be tied. He's played every game this year, all the state of origin. The coach would have loved to arrest him, and he just hasn't had the opportunity to. While Cooper is going well, I think Cooper would like a rest. That's my opinion. Jesse Bromwich, the 2 props, and Jason Riles, they'll go okay. Cameron Smith is a world beater. He also would like a rest. His form has probably been down 10% on what it has been, but 10% still makes him nearly the best player in the world. He'll be fine. The back rowers, Sikamanu and Ryan Hoffman, are going okay without being sensational. I've been disappointed in Sikamanu. I think he's world class when he's at his best, and he hasn't shown anywhere near that form this year. Ryan Hinchcliffe will come into the starting side, which is a loss for the bench. He's very good to come off the bench as an impact player, and he's had to come in because of the injury to Todd Lowry. So you can see that they have some challenges to Storm. The bench is Brian Norrie, Joe Manlow, Kevin Proctor and Richard Fayoso. It's nothing special. I think there's a chance the Storm could be going with 4 forwards off the bench unless they bring in Rory Cost-Jason. Hard to say there. Look, if the Storm weren't playing in Melbourne, I wouldn't give them any chance at all. Of course, they're playing in Melbourne, they've got a great chance, and they get 2 cracks. And that's purely why they're just favoured. If this game was being played at ANZ, I have got no doubt South Sydney would be favoured in this game. I still think they can get home, despite the fact they're playing in Melbourne. I think this is a class side, and you'll see why. Greg Inglis is their fullback. I don't think there's a fullback in the NRL that's going any better than him. I'd have to rate him in front of Billy Slater at this stage, based on form. Nathan Merritt is a class act. He's one of the wingers. The other winger is Andrew Evingham. He has some defence issues, but he's very good in attack. The weakness for the Rabbitohs is the 2 centres, Matt King and Dylan Farrell, both very ordinary in defence, have been missing a lot of tackles in recent weeks. And while the Rabbitohs defence is very, very good, and we look at their defence stats, tries conceded, Rabbitohs only 2.8 a game. If they do that in this game, they'll be winning the game. So while their stats are good, those 2 guys in the centres have been letting them down, and I think they're one of the big weaknesses in the Rabbitohs side. One of the strengths in their side, John Sutton and Adam Reynolds, the 6 and 7, are a massive strength. And the thing about them is they either have a good game or they have a bad game. If they have a good game, I'm confident the Rabbitohs will be winning this game. If they don't get overawed by the semi-final and the fact they're playing down in Melbourne, it'll have an impact on the entire team. So those 2 guys really do have to rev up. They've both had good seasons so far, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't go good at this time of the year. The coach will be looking for Sutton and Reynolds. Sam Burgess, I rate the best forward in the world, and he's just going great guns. I don't know what he's on, but I'd like some of it. I can't believe what he does. I think he's been butchered as a front row. He'll start there because they haven't got anybody else, and he's such a good player, he can play anywhere else. But he will be playing a fair bit in the back row after the first 20 minutes or so. The coaches, his front row partner, Roy Asotasi, he's had about 5-6 games back now, and he should be approaching peak fitness. And I'm looking for a very big game for Roy Asotasi to give John Sutton and Adam Reynolds some good go forward and let them weave their magic. A big plus to have him coming back nice and fresh at this time of the year. The coach has gone for Nathan Peach to start in place of Isaac Luke. I rate Isaac Luke the 2nd or 3rd best hooker in the world, and he's one of the reasons why the Rabbitohs have got a great chance in this competition. And I think, like the Storm's hooker, Cameron Smith, I think Isaac Luke is an 80-minute player, and I would have been playing him for the 80 minutes. I would have been starting. The coach has elected to start with Nathan Peach because he's a good defender, and that's fine. Look, I'm not going to blow up about that. It's a little bit of a risk. Nathan Peach isn't going to do a hell of a lot of it in attack, where every time Luke's got the ball, he looks dangerous. You can't afford to waste opportunities when you're playing such a quality side like the Melbourne Storm. Back row, he's elected Eddie Pettybourne. I think he has some defence issues. I would have had him coming off the bench. Dave Taylor can win the game on his own. They really need to see Dave go to a new level now. He was disappointing in State of Origin, so this is his next time on the big stage. Everyone wants to see Dave do something on a big stage. So he's leaving the club at the end of this year. Now's his opportunity to pay them back and to step up and have a big game. A wonderful player. He will be worrying the Storm every time he's got the ball. Michael Crocker, the captain. My feeling is he's only captain because he's a coach favourite. He certainly shouldn't be in the team on form. I actually haven't seen him show any real form for 2.5 years now. And look, he's a good leader. He's a good talker. The players love playing with him. Excuse me. The players love playing with him, but the fact of the matter is he doesn't do anything when he's got the ball. He can give a silly penalty away, and he's taking up a very important position there at lock forward. I would rather be playing Nathan Peach at lock forward, starting with Nathan Peach at lock forward. I think it would be much better for the club, or bring on somebody like Ben Lowe at lock forward. That's what I would have been doing. you'll probably find that will happen next year. I hope the coach has got this right. He's put a lot of faith in Michael Crocker. He's put a lot of faith in King. They're his favourites from the Storm. Good luck to him. I hope it works for him. The other guys that South Sydney have got on the bench is Jason Clark, Luke Burgess and Chris McQueen. Chris McQueen is unlucky not to be starting. I think he'll make an impact when he comes on. Overall, it's a terrific 17 for South Sydney, and their three big guns, Greg Inglis, Sam Burgess and Isaac Luke, are just as big as the Melbourne Storm's three, Cooper Cronk, Cameron Smith and Billy Slater, in my opinion. I don't think there's anything in this game, as I said, because it's been played in Melbourne. I think it's a toss-up game. If it was played in Sydney, I'd be saying the Rabbitohs are good things. But we'll take the odds. We're getting good odds because of it. And if the Rabbitohs get an even bounce of the ball and even referee decisions, I think they'll be winning this game. I want to be on them. Good luck to you, whatever you do. It should be a great game.